Presents Vote 2026, the Race for U.S. Senate Democratic Candidates Forum, produced in collaboration with the League of Women Voters of Illinois and Chicago and Univision Chicago.
Good evening and welcome to our forum for Democratic candidates in the primary race to be the next U.S. Senator from Illinois. We have produced this forum in collaboration with the League of Women Voters of Illinois and Chicago, as well as Univision Chicago. Tonight, we have three candidates here in the race joining us in studio: Robin Kelly, Raja Krishnamurthy, and Juliana Stratton. And joining me in asking questions here tonight are ABC7 political reporter Craig Wall and Enrique Rodriguez from Univision. And now, let's get to the ground rules for tonight's hour-long forum, which all of the candidates have agreed to. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question with no rebuttal here tonight. We determine the order by random drawing. We will be rotating who answers first for each question. All eligible candidates in this race were considered for inclusion in this Democratic forum, and we invited these three candidates here tonight based on the following criteria: being legally qualified to hold the office that they are seeking, having a campaign website, and being among the top three in fundraising as of December 31st, 2025, and achieving certain performance in independent polling if available at that time. And we will have statements from the other candidates running at a separate time. Those details will be coming your way later tonight. And a reminder, the views expressed are those of the candidates, not the League of Women Voters, ABC7, or Univision. Sponsorship of the forum is also not an endorsement of any candidate. With that said, I see our candidates are ready, so let's go ahead and get started. First, each of you will get 1 minute to deliver your opening statement to the voters. And this order, again, was determined by random drawing. And candidate Kelly, you will begin tonight with your opening statement.
Thank you to our hosts, thank you to the moderators, and thank you to the viewers. I am Robin Kelly. I'm the granddaughter of a domestic worker who took her life savings and bought a grocery store. I'm a mother who worked tirelessly to get her college degree and pay for it. And I'm a dedicated public servant. I've been in Congress 12 and a half years, and I'm running for U.S. Senate to make your life better and more affordable. It really pisses me off that Trump and his billionaire friends have gotten richer while other people struggle. And I promise, as your next senator, to do something about that every day. And I'm doing it now. I fought the NRA, I fought health insurance policies and the political machine. I fought Trump on his Gestapo tactics and got attacked. And I'm leading the way for the impeachment of Kristi Noem to stop her reign of terror. D.C. and Washington, they need fighters. The Senate needs a fighter, but they need someone who can fight and win and accomplish things. Okay. And I will do that for you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Krishnamurthy.
Thank you so much. I am running for the U.S. Senate because of my backstory. I was born in India. I came to this country when I was 3 months old, to Buffalo, New York. Things were going good, and then they turned really bad fast in the recession of the early 1970s. At that time, my father lost his income, but thanks to the generosity of the American people, we were allowed to move into public housing and food stamps. Eventually, my father made it on his feet and then got a great job in, of all places, Peoria, Illinois. We moved to Peoria, and we moved to the middle class. And every night at the dinner table, my father would say, think of the greatness of this country, and whatever the two of you do, my brother and me, make sure it's there for the next families who need it. So that became the North Star of my personal compass. Fast forward through college and law school, came back to Illinois, worked in the private and the public sectors, and then ran a small business and got elected to Congress. And here I am 10 years later, 5 terms later, still pursuing that mission statement given to me by my parents. Make sure this country is there for the next families who need it. That's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate as well, to preserve the American dream for everyone.
Okay, thank you. And candidate Stratton.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I'm Juliana Stratton, and for the past 7 years, I've been so honored to serve as your Lieutenant Governor. This journey for me really started 10 years ago when I was caring for my mother, Velma, who had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And at that time, my state representative was working to strip away health care from seniors like my mother. And I don't shy away from a good fight, so I stepped up to run against him, and I beat a 13-year incumbent. But look where we are 10 years later. Donald Trump has ignited a 5-alarm fire Look at the chaos coming out of Washington and how many communities are being harmed. If we've ever needed a fighter in Washington, it's right now. And I came here tonight to let you know that I will be that fighter for you. I look forward to taking your questions.
All right, thank you very much. And now let's get right to it and begin with our first question here tonight. It concerns immigration, and it is coming from our Craig Wall. Candidate Kelly will be getting the first chance to respond. Craig.
Well, candidates, please share with us what kind of oversight and accountability you believe federal immigration enforcement agents and operations should have, if any, and what role do you think Congress should play in this?
Well, first of all, I think we need to dismantle ICE. But I'll say, first of all, I think we need to impeach Kristi Noem, which I'm leading that fight to do that. But the whole Department of Homeland Security needs an overhaul. Yes, dismantle ICE, but also the Border Patrol, also the agency that looks over citizenships and asylum. All of it needs to be dismantled and rebuilt so people are not terrorized by their own governmental agency. So I think we do need enforcement. There's no question about that, but not the enforcement that we have now. That definitely needs to go away. Again, as I say, dismantle, impeach, and rebuild, because Homeland Security is too big, it's too unwieldy, and there is no accountability, and we have to change that, all as a part of immigration reform.
Thank you. And candidate Krishnamurthy, same question, 60 seconds.
I'm an immigrant, so this is very personal to me. I believe that we have to abolish Trump's ICE. This is the position that Governor J.B. Pritzker has also taken. I'd be curious if my colleagues agree with this position. Look, this is what has to happen. The reason why I voted against all DHS and ICE and CBP funding is this. Noem has to be fired. If she's not fired, then we have to impeach her. Masks have to come off. ID has to go on. Body cameras have to go on. No more warrantless arrests. Third-party investigations must be mandatory for all use of force, and no more roving gangs of ICE agents or CBP agents throughout our cities. In addition, I think the other day, Rick Pearson asked Lieutenant Governor Stratton if she were to abolish ICE, where should the duties be transferred? She said CBP. I think that would be a grave mistake. CBP is who employs Greg Bovino. CBP is who actually shot and killed Alex Pretty. We need to abolish Trump's ICE and revamp CBP and all of DHS.
That is the time. Thank you. And now to candidate Stratton.
Well, as I've said, we need to abolish ICE. This system cannot be reformed. And we right now have Senate Democrats with a real opportunity over these next 2 weeks to hold firm and fight for safer communities with this DHS funding bill. Here's what I want to make sure we see. We need to have firm demands, and we need to make sure they happen before we give any type of vote to this funding. Number one, we need ICE and Border Patrol out of our American cities. We need to make sure that there's no immunity for any of these agents. We want to see not one single dime more of funding for ICE, and we need to make sure that we investigate and prosecute all of these agents for their crimes and make sure they're held accountable. So I want to abolish ICE. It's hard to talk about standing up to ICE when you've received funding from some of the same technology companies that are helping them carry out their terror.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next question right now is coming from Enrique Rodriguez. And candidate Krishnamurthy, you will have the first response to this question. Enrique.
Thank you, Judy. Good evening to everyone. Let's continue with immigration. Candidates, please explain what is your position on creating a path to citizenship for young immigrants brought to the United States as children, frequently referred to as dreamers.
I am a prime sponsor, original co-sponsor of the bill that Senator Durbin pioneered in the Senate and is in the House to allow a path to citizenship for dreamers, but we have to go beyond that. We have to also allow for a path to citizenship for TPS holders. We should also make it viable for people who've staked their roots in this country and made a life here to also have a path. In addition, high-skilled talent, the people who are attracted to this country, who come here, innovate, create next-generation technologies, create wealth and prosperity for our country, should also be allowed to matriculate into permanent residency. Our legal immigration system is our killer competitive advantage relative to the world. I know because I'm an immigrant myself, and we have to fix our legal immigration system and make sure that our country remains a beacon for the best, the brightest, the most hardworking people from around the world.
Okay, thank you very much. Candidate Stratton, 60 seconds.
Well, let me begin by just saying what we're seeing happening right now in American cities, especially Democratic-led cities, by the Trump administration has nothing to do with safety, and it has nothing to do with immigration, quite frankly. It's why I want to abolish ICE, but when we talk about immigration reform, we have to take some real steps to make sure that those that have been in this country, who have been waiting far too long, have a real path to citizenship. This includes making sure that there is a path and a process for asylum seekers, and making sure that we're funding that system adequately to make sure that they can get their hearings and it can move forward. There's too many of our neighbors, hardworking neighbors, that have contributed so much to our communities and unfortunately have been entangled in this process. And now they are facing so much fear because of Donald Trump's chaos. We need to stand up and have a real solution. And remember, we had one, and Republicans blocked it because Donald Trump told them no.
Okay, thank you. Same question, Candidate Kelly.
As I've talked about, impeaching Kristi Noem and dismantling ICE, it's a part of a whole immigration that needs to occur. The dreamers that have been here that know no other country, the pathway needs to be as short as possible. They are contributing to this country. They are paying taxes in this country. They know no other country. So we need to have the shortest pathway as possible for those dreamers. But then also we need to work on the over 11 million that have been here, that are contributing, that aren't that won't get the benefits of what they have contributed and made this country what they are. So for the dreamers, I'm a part of Senator Durbin's bill. Also, we need to do it immediately. As soon as we can get the gavels or convince our Republican colleagues that this needs to happen, it needs to happen.
Thank you. And here is your next question here, candidates, and that is, are we in a constitutional crisis? And if so, how would you address that? And if not, how will we know if we reach that point? And Candidate Stratton, your response first.
Yes, we're in a constitutional crisis. Look at what's happening in our country right now. We have a president that is stomping on the Constitution, a president that doesn't believe that he has to follow the rule of law. We have a president and now a court system, oftentimes, especially the Supreme Court, that is rubber stamping his authoritarian agenda. And so this is a time that we have to take bold action, and we need fighters in Washington to stand up and speak out and hold these systems accountable. For example, the Supreme Court should be a check, an co-equal independent branch of government that checks this administration, not rubber stamps its agenda. But look what they're doing. So we have to look at reforms for the Supreme Court. I'd be open to looking at everything from expanding the court to thinking about term limits and making sure that the calendar for appointments from presidents is reformed. But we must do something because we don't see the checks we need. I will not vote for one single appointee of Donald Trump to the Supreme Court.
Thank you. Candidate Kelly, 1 minute.
Yes, I do believe we're in the constitutional crisis. I think we've learned a lot from this president, and that when we can take over, I think that we need to, or even now, close as many loopholes as possible. I don't think anyone imagined that someone would take advantage and break the laws that he has been breaking. So yes, I think we're in a constitutional crisis, quite frankly, and I just wish my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who have ceded their power, I think some of them are learning now by some of the votes that are happening that we need to slow him down, cut him off, hold him accountable, hold his minions accountable like I'm trying to hold Kristi Noem accountable. We cannot let Patel or Tulsi Gabbard or Secretary Kennedy, any of them, get away with the nonsense that they're getting away with.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Krishnamurthy, 1 minute.
Yes, and what we need to do right now is, A, we need to shine a light on the harm that's being done to average people because of this crisis, and we have to lift up the voices of those who are not being heard, who are being hurt. In addition, we need to perform our oversight duties vigorously in Congress, but we also need to hold people accountable, including our Republican colleagues on the other side who often vote for these policies that go against the interests of their constituents. Beyond that, we need to do more. So for instance, we have to ban mid-decade redistricting and the redistricting chaos that Donald Trump has created. We have to reform the pardon power because now he's decided to auction off pardons to the highest bidders. In addition, we have to reform our tariff laws so that he can't create tariff chaos and trade chaos. And then finally, we have to probably amend the Constitution and make it very clear that there is no third term for a president.
Okay, thank you. And our next question here is coming from Craig, and candidate Kelly will now have the first chance to respond. Craig.
As you all know, the cost of living is a top concern for Illinois voters, with housing, food, and health care costs continuing to rise. What specific actions would you take in the Senate to help working families struggling with affordability?
Well, I'm running on a platform of people over profits, where millionaires, billionaires, and corporations will finally pay their fair share, no more, no less. And with their fair share, we can build more housing and more affordable housing. We can have health care, Medicare for all, in the richest country in the history of the world, for people still not to have health care. We can raise wages. We can cap child care costs so people are not paying more for childcare than they are for rent. We can invest in economic development so there's economic opportunity and possibilities for all that have it. And also the other thing, in the big ugly bill, there was big tax cuts given to the well-off and well-connected. I would claw that back and amend that and change that as a member of the Senate.
All right, candidate Christian Worthy, same question.
Donald Trump said the other day that he believes he has an A++ track record on the economy. I totally disagree. I think it's an F-. He promised to lower prices when he got elected, and said prices have gone up. And so we are in a crisis that is in part because of tariffs that have been imposed on everything from everywhere, leading to higher prices on everything for everyone. In addition to reclaiming our tariff power in Congress and preventing him from jacking up tariffs to 100% rates and other chaotic levels, I have a plan to also make other staple items of the American dream more affordable. So for instance, housing. I've proposed a 10% tax credit on the purchase of your first home for first-time home buyers. It worked in the Obama years. It can work now. I have a plan because of food insecurity. I'm a product of food stamps, a national free lunch program for our children because it increases attendance, reduces hunger, among other things.
Thank you. Candidate Stratton.
Well, let me just say that everything is too expensive right now. And I'm feeling it in my own family. You know, I think about the fact that my husband and I, we have to sit down and we have to budget every single week. And we have to think through, what are we bringing in? What's going to go out? And when we go to the grocery store, we're seeing how expensive everything is, like many of you are as well. And so one key proposal that I'm going to fight for in Washington is to raise wages. If we put more money in people's pockets, I want to see a $25 an hour minimum wage. At the federal level, the minimum wage right now is $7.25. That is about $15,000 a year. It's why so many people are working 2 and 3 jobs. It's why so many people can't seem to figure out how to put food on the table and make ends meet. It's wrong, and we need to do more and take real leadership. I will bring that new vision to Washington and get it done.
Thank you. And now to Enrique again for our next question here tonight, with candidate Christian Worthy now answering first. Enrique.
Thank you. As you know, policies that promote diversity, equal opportunity, and fair treatment in education, the workplace, and government programs have become an important focus nationwide. How do you feel about these policies being altered at the federal level? And what specific steps, if any, would you support to make sure that all Americans have a chance to succeed?
Well, I'm concerned about Donald Trump's focus on this, because I think what he's trying to do is get rid of diversity. And diversity is a good thing. Diversity allows for instance, more competition from small businesses who are owned by women or diverse contractors. And when you have more competition, guess what? You have more choices, you have lower prices, and usually higher quality services. And so I'm concerned that some of these initiatives are done at the behest of some large corporations or special interests to get rid of their competition. and that's wrong. And that's the same case with hiring. When you have a bigger pool of people to draw from, then you are oftentimes going to get the best people for any given position. And so I'm very much in favor of diverse initiatives and making sure that our taxpayers and everybody have access to the best quality services and best contractors and best hires.
Thank you. And Candidate Stratton, 60 seconds.
Well, we have a president right now who leads with bigotry and hatred. That's a fact. And we're seeing it every single day in the types of policies he and his administration try to put forward, and it is wrong. It's also dangerous. And I can tell you that here in Illinois, the way that we have led is that we believe that our diversity is our strength. And that's why we've always made sure, whether it's what children are taught in school or the kinds of policies we push forward with our businesses, we always make sure that equity continues to be at the center. The kinds of things that this president is doing right now to attack DEI is going to mean that we're going to have fewer doctors and teachers and business owners of color. It means that people will not be able to go to the hospital and be able to get care from someone that they trust, that perhaps they might have a deeper connection with and has that cultural competence. So we need to do more to make sure DEI stands, and I will fight for that.
Okay, thank you. And Candidate Kelly.
President Trump has made DEI and being woke really bad words. And when I think about DEI, it's race, it's gender, it's disability, it's religion. So many people are affected by this. I do think in Congress we need to hold corporations accountable. So many promises were made after George Floyd died, and it seems like under this president, corporations have been given the freedom, or they've relaxed their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I plan in the Senate to hold, like I'm doing now, actually, to continue to hold corporations accountable for what they said they would do. I'm also leading an effort. I have a huge healthcare portfolio to make sure that we have diversity in clinical trials, to make sure that the people most affected by diseases are the ones in the clinical trials. So I'm working at it from all different angles.
Thank you. Thank you. And now moving on to our next question here tonight. And that is, given the recent attacks on vote by mail and concerns about voting rights, how would you work to ensure that voter protections and prevent any barriers to voter registration and access to the ballot box? And Candidate Stratton, you will respond first.
Well, this is an important question for me because in 1965, my father, Henry, marched from Selma to Montgomery to, protest voter discrimination. And here we are, 60 years later, and voting rights are still under attack. And I believe that the reason why this president wants to have a military presence on American streets is because, quite frankly, he does not want to see us have another election. So this is critical. And there are some things we've done right here in Illinois to make sure that we can protect voting rights and make sure your voices are counted at the ballot box. We made Election Day a state holiday. We have extended voting hours. We made sure that vote by mail can be expanded. Those are the kinds of things that we need to see happen to protect voting rights. And those are that's the blueprint that I would love to take to Washington, D.C., so that we can stand up for voting rights for everyone.
Thank you. Candidate Kelly, 1 minute.
I think we need to do a really good job on educating the public, education and information. In fact, the Congressional Black Caucus, we just had a forum. We had Eric Holder and other people in NAACP legal division to work with us on how we would do that, because oftentimes what you can do in Illinois, a very blue state, you cannot do that nationwide. It just does not work like that. As I've often said, I've been in Congress 13 years and only in the majority 4 years. So I think we need to leave no stone unturned and work with really our constituents and educate so people know when their rights, their voting rights are being tampered with, or someone's trying to take their voting rights away, whatever it is, closing the polls early, changing the address of the polls, asking you for further identification. People need to know what their rights are. So, we need to work in coordination with the public.
Okay, Candidate Christian Worthy, 1 minute.
Well, I think we have to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. This is something that I have been an original co-sponsor on since I got into Congress. It has various reforms as part of it, including making elections a holiday, making vote by mail universally available. It also gives the Justice Department the opportunity to once again fight voter suppression efforts in the 14 states that once made up the Confederacy. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with the legacy of Jim Crow in many of those states. And we should have the ability on the part of the DOJ to fight those efforts. But we need to go beyond this. We need democracy reform in addition. I believe that we should pass my legislation, which would restore trust in Congress. So it would actually ban the trading of individual stocks and securities by members of Congress. I believe that we should also consider term limits and age limits. We have to once again reinvigorate our democracy.
Okay, thank you. And Craig will be taking our next question here again, and candidate Kelly will have the first response here. Craig.
In light of the recent U.S. military actions overseas, when should a president be required to seek congressional approval under the War Powers Act, and where do you draw that line?
I think the president should have to receive our approval before he attacks any country or tries to take over any country, tries to buy a country, tries to take over a country, tries to kidnap any leader of a country. I think that he needs to come to us first before he does anything that could put our country and our people in harm's way.
All right. Thank you. Candidate Krishnamurthy.
Well, look, definitely in the case of an emergency, the president should be able to act to defend the United States. However, where there's not an emergency, such as what we saw with Venezuela, where he deploys armed forces in hostilities, he must come to Congress first. Why do we have this War Powers Act? It's because of the secret wars. It was because of the assassinations and everything that happened leading up to the early 1970s, including the Vietnam-era war. We have to avoid this. When there's no accountability, bad things happen, and that's what's happening here. In addition to this, we have to block all appropriations for any continuation of these conflicts. So I have a bill called the NOVA Act, No Occupation of Venezuela Act, which would block money, taxpayer money, from going toward, quote unquote, running or occupying Venezuela. I am concerned that the president is going to offer taxpayer-funded benefits to big oil to exploit oil in Venezuela.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to candidate Stratton.
Well, Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator. And because of that, he's putting our national security at risk. He is only out for himself, not the American people, and we are seeing that every single day. These types of actions that he's taken, cozying up to strongmen and alienating our allies, it is dangerous. And he's doing it for one reason and one reason only, and that is to stroke his own ego and to make himself and his wealthy friends wealthier. So I want to make sure that that Congress has the appropriate ability to review, give authority, have oversight, and also I just want to say, who asked for this? I mean, the American people have not asked him to take on all of these decisions to go invade and threaten these other countries. What they are asking for is higher wages. They're asking for health care. And those are the things that I'm going to be focused on fighting for.
All right, thank you. And Enrique will be asking our next question here tonight. And candidate Krishnamurthy, you will have the first response to this one. Enrique.
Thank you. The current administration just issued multiple executive orders removing the United States from global climate treaties and scientific bodies. This, as you know, threatens to discard decades of global collaboration. So I want to ask you, what would you do to ensure the United States stays engaged in global public policy on the world stage?
Look, I think that this president is tearing up our foreign policy, and it's hurting America. When we push away our friends, partners, and allies who've worked with us, whether it's on global health initiatives or on security initiatives, we are basically hurting our own national security. And then when we draw closer to our adversaries, like Vladimir Putin, we're further harming ourselves. What happens when we basically draw away from our friends, partners, and allies through these different world initiatives that you're talking about is we start to show weakness. And when you show weakness, you invite aggression. And when you have aggression, you could spark conflict or war. What we should do in the Senate or in Congress is make sure that any appropriations that we make are conditioned on following policies of Congress, including with regard to these global health initiatives or global climate initiatives or migration initiatives. That's what we need to do.
Okay, thank you. And 1 minute for Candidate Stratton.
Well, here we are where we have so many countries that are understanding the real challenges and the danger of climate change. And then we have a president in Donald Trump who doesn't even believe that climate change is real. And so I think about how we are really a laughingstock for so many other countries and the rest of the world. So I want to make sure when we talk about, for example, climate change, that as a senator, I will stand up to fight against climate change. I will make sure that I don't confirm any appointees that do not believe in science, because this administration doesn't believe in science. And I want to make sure I bring an environmental justice to this work, because Black and brown communities all across our state are disproportionately impacted by climate change, whether it's lead pipes or whether it's asthma, children getting asthma, or flooding. So we need to do more. And I believe when we have strong, steady leadership in Washington, D.C., we can start building back the trust and the confidence of other countries.
Thank you. And Candidate Kelly, same question.
We have to build back the Inflation Reduction Act. First, we have to take care of and be a role model in our own country before we can tell other countries what to do. The other countries that have lost faith in us need to see that we care about this topic again. I'm on something called House Democracy Partnerships, appointed by Nancy Pelosi, and I meet with people like me all around the world. And I know that people have lost their faith in the United States, so we have to build that faith back. But first, we also have to look at our own country and what we're doing here as far as climate change. He's clawed back some of the best investments in renewable energy and solar and lead pipes and flooding and that kind of thing. So we need to start here, and then the other countries maybe will have faith in us again, because they don't trust us, and I know that because we've been talking to them.
All right, thank you. And now let's talk about education. Here is your next question, candidates. Right now, the Trump administration is facing multiple lawsuits after ending a grant that provided Illinois schools with funding for after-school academic support and other programs. If elected, what would you do to ensure that federal money for K-12 education, including for low-income students and students with special needs, continues to flow? Candidate Stratton will be answering first here.
Well, Donald Trump is seeking, and really we're seeing it happen right now, dismantling the Department of Education. And I'm a mom of 4. I'm a daughter of a public school teacher, and education is critically important. And it really is an attack on public education in particular. So I will fight for public education. It's something that I've always done. The funding that we're talking about, Title I funds in particular, are the funds that go to some of our most under-resourced schools. Schools in neighborhoods that need extra resources, rural communities where students with disabilities. And these are the kinds of programs and resources that are now being cut by this administration. So we need to do what we've done here in Illinois over the past 7 years in our administration. We have made record investments in K-12 education and didn't leave it there. We also invested in early childhood and made college more affordable as well. I will continue to fight for education. It's something that I've always done, and as a mom, It's important.
Thank you. Candidate Kelly, 60 seconds.
Yes. I would build back the Department of Education. The federal government also needs to pay IDEA for developmentally disabled students the 40% that we're supposed to pay. We haven't been doing that. We have to build back Title I for low-income communities and also for professional development for teachers. But Department of Education is so important, even more than education. It's for the civil rights and protections of students and teachers. Also, I started the predominantly Black institution caucus to make sure that, like, schools in my colleges in my district and without my district, that they get the resources they need, like HBCUs also. But we need to build back the Department of Education because, again, he has dismantled it and tried and politicized it, and he's trying to privatize it. And I would fight hard to stop all of that.
All right, thank you. And Candidate Krishnamurthy.
So I'm a product of the Peoria Public Schools. I would not be here but for public schools and public school teachers, and they are under assault right now as this president actually seeks to close the Department of Education. I actually visited Normal, a school called Fairview Elementary School in Normal, Illinois, just a couple days ago. They, unfortunately, have been the victim of this funding freeze. And this freeze has basically affected the grants that provide the community wraparound services for their children, especially from underserved areas who need extra help in order to attend school. And so when this grant goes away, basically these children will be harmed. When you harm our children, you harm our future. What do we do about it? I think we have to do a few things. One, pursue litigation. We have to continue to pursue litigation in the lower courts, and I will continue to join it. Two, we have to continue to perform oversight and restrict funds where the administration impounds money illegally.
Okay, thank you. And our next question here concerns the federal minimum wage, and it is coming from Craig tonight, and candidate Kelly will be the first to respond.
We've heard a little bit about this, but let's continue because there hasn't been a federal minimum wage increase since 2009, but some states and local municipalities have stepped in and raised theirs. Do you support raising the federal minimum wage? Why or why not? And if yes, by how much?
I definitely support raising the minimum wage. As you said, it hasn't raised in a long time. It's $7.25 an hour. I would support raising it to $17 an hour. That's what studies show is viable. And also, we have to be realistic about how much we want to raise it because we, of course, have to get 218 votes in the House and 60 votes in the Senate. And even speaking with Bernie Sanders, he talks about $17 an hour because that is a realistic amount that wages can be waged. And with my people over profits, hopefully with the investments of more affordable housing, health care, with Medicare for all, that will help people save some money too.
Candidate Christian Worthy.
Yes, we have to raise the federal minimum wage. It's an abomination at $7.25. I think we should, I co-sponsored the original legislation to raise it to $15 an hour. I think 17 sounds reasonable given inflation. We have to do it obviously in a way that also respects small businesses. I was a small business person. I signed the front of the check and the back of the check, and so I know that small businesses need to be at the table as stakeholders in addition to others. But we need to do more than this. And here, in addition to raising the wage, we also need to upskill our workers so that they can continue to see wage increases over time. I'm the author of the law that basically modernizes our nation's skills-based and career technical education system for the 62% of Americans without a four-year college degree. This law was wildly successful, helping 11 million people get a higher quality skills-based education, but it was terribly underfunded. We need to fund it properly now.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Stratton.
Well, we have a society where we continue to see the wealthy get wealthier. And everyday Illinoisans are wondering, what is changing in my life? No matter who's in Washington, they're not seeing any change. And I support a $25 an hour minimum wage because I don't think we should think about just minimum wage. I think we should think about a livable wage. What kind of income must people have so that they can put food on the table and maybe save a little extra and maybe have something to spend in the small businesses in their communities? And it takes more than $7.25 at the federal level. I'm proud that Governor Pritzker and I worked hard to get a $15 an hour minimum wage here in Illinois. But this is not something that really should be handled at the state level. We should see a federal minimum wage. It should be $25 an hour, a livable wage, so that people can take care of their families. Because everybody should have the opportunity to move forward, see some economic mobility, and thrive.
Okay. Thank you. And Enrique will have our next question here tonight, and this concerns tariffs. And candidate Christian Worthy will be the first to respond here. Enrique.
Much has been said about tariffs, right? What is your overall philosophy on the use of tariffs as a tool for this type of policy?
Well, look, I think that tariffs, if used strategically, where there's an unlevel playing field, such as what we see with the Chinese Communist Party using a playbook to basically dump goods at prices beneath the cost to destroy their competition in countries like the U.S., it makes sense. But if you have blanket tariffs on everything coming from everywhere, it leads to higher prices on everything for everyone. And that's what we're seeing right now. And it's hurting everybody. I'll just give you a couple examples. I visited Miles Craft, a small business in Rockford. They were going gangbusters before Liberation Day. Then Donald Trump increased tariffs by 100%, and immediately their business fell, and now they're laying people off. I also visited Kindred Farms in Atlanta, Illinois. These farmers are taking it in the shins because they're not only paying higher prices on their input costs, their products that they want to export are now subject to counter tariffs, especially in China and other places.
Okay.
So this is a horrible situation.
Thank you. And Kennedy Stratton.
Well, the way that we've seen Donald Trump use tariffs is that it's really been a tax on working families. He tries to say that he's going to make things more affordable. He said he's going to lower inflation on day one, and he hasn't done that. He lied about that. And in fact, he's made things worse. And tariffs are one of the reasons. We have seen groceries more expensive, even housing. And I can tell you that housing is an issue that so many Illinoisans care about, being able to afford housing. Our utilities, everything is getting more expensive, and small business owners are feeling it too. So whether you're a family or whether you're a business owner, we need stability. We don't need a president that gets online and makes a post every morning and says, here's what I'm doing now, and not thinking about it strategically. There, of course, are times that targeted tariffs can work, but not the way that Donald Trump is using them. It's caused harm to working families in Illinois.
Thank you. And Kennedy Kelly on the use of tariffs.
I believe trade needs to be free and fair, but I'm also a member of the Steel Caucus, and I know how they feel about all the dumping of steel that China has done. My district is urban, suburban, and rural, and not only the 4,500 farmers in my district, but the farmers across the state of Illinois are hurting. We are #1 in soybeans. China was our #1 customer, and we have made no money because of the tariffs that the president has put on. And now we may not ever get that back because China has invested in Brazil since Trump 1.0. I have barn hall meetings, and Republicans and Democrats come to those meetings, so I hear their concern. We also need to look at opening markets, and we're closing markets because of our tariffs so that our goods and products can be sold in other places, but markets are being closed to us. So, tariffs.
Okay, thank you. And now moving on to our next question here has to do with the confirmation process. As you know, the Senate has the responsibility of confirming cabinet members and federal judges. What standards and qualifications would guide your confirmation decisions, and how would you balance party loyalty with your duty to provide independent oversight in this process? And Kennedy Stratton will respond first.
Well, let's look at what we have right now in this administration. Donald Trump has appointed people that are wholly unqualified, and I don't even know if that's a strong enough word to be leading in this administration. And it has caused so much damage and chaos for all of us as Americans. So I would not confirm anyone that's appointed by Donald Trump, because I don't believe that the appointments that he is making to these cabinet positions is based on qualifications. He's looking for people who will be loyal to him and him only, rather than following the Constitution. And that is dangerous, and it is another example of his authoritarian agenda. When it comes to judges, if given that opportunity, I've already indicated that I would not confirm any Supreme Court justices appointed by this president, and I would make sure that I take my duty and my oath seriously and make sure that I'm doing what's in the best interest of the American people.
Thank you. Kennedy Kelly.
Party loyalty is one thing, but I have to look at my value and my value of integrity. And when people want to be appointed, that's a job interview. And I think we need to do thorough vetting. You know, what have they done in the past? What is their experience? Donald Trump has recommended people with no experience. In fact, some people were terrible. Republicans didn't even confirm them. But at this point, under this president, I would not confirm anyone as a senator, because he has just torn down my trust in him, and he doesn't know what the word integrity means, and he is picking people. His choice of people, whether it's judges or people in his cabinet, have proven to be very incompetent, I would say, using a nice word. So I don't trust his choices, and I would not vote for anyone. But once we get past this, again, it's a job interview. What have you done? What is your integrity? What do you want to do? What are your views?
All right, thank you. Candidate Krishnamurthy.
Well, look, I think that there are three different types of appointments that I would be concerned about. One is judges who would preside in Illinois. If I'm privileged to be a U.S. Senator, I would try to set up a nonpartisan commission who would actually evaluate applicants the same way that Senators Durbin and Duckworth are doing currently, to get the best and the brightest, the hardest working people of any background into these positions. I would also use my blue slip privilege to block radical judges that might be appointed by Donald Trump to a position here in Illinois, which is currently a prerogative of the home state senator. With regard to Supreme Court justices, look, these are people that are going to affect us in profound ways. And so I would want to vet them for their life experience, their background experience, but also are their views outside of the mainstream, such that they would overturn the Constitution.
All right, thank you. And our next question here is coming from Craig Wall. Candidate Kelly will have the first response here. Craig.
The federal government has recently made some notable changes to vaccine recommendations. What role, if any, should Congress have in overseeing public health policy and ensuring that scientific integrity and public trust is there?
I sit on Energy and Commerce, a healthcare subcommittee. I'm the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Health Brain Trust. Congress should have a huge role in decisions that are made. Of course, we need to go by the science. We need to go by reputable doctors that also need to be interviewed and vetted and not appointed by Donald Trump. It's almost, if it wasn't deadly, it's almost a joke in a way with vaccines and the things that he's saying. So Congress needs to have a say, and there are a lot of doctors in Congress, and there's a doctors caucus, and we refer to them a lot of their opinion of what they think should happen, and no one agrees with what Donald Trump is doing now. So he does need to come to Congress. We are, he is the president, but we have a say, an equal say, frankly, in what he does. And people are depending on us. Our constituents, our states are depending on us to make the right decision and making sure that with measles and the flu and COVID, everything that is coming back fast and furious.
Thank you. And Candidate Krishnamurthy.
Well, look, when RFK Jr. was first nominated and he came before the Senate, he actually stated in testimony before the Senate Help Committee, the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, that he would not substantially alter vaccine policy. He lied. And now people are going to die. We're seeing outbreaks of polio. We're seeing outbreaks of measles. We're seeing outbreaks of diseases that we thought we had conquered in this country. And now they're back. And so, unfortunately, the result of the Senate confirming this terribly flawed individual to be the Secretary of HHS is people are going to die. And so the issue is this: going forward, what do we do? Again, I think that we have to block appropriations. We have to fence and restrict money that's spent at HHS unless it's spent in the right way, including in executing a well thought out vaccine policy, and block nominees.
Okay, thank you. And Candidate Stratton, 60 seconds.
Well, it's very hard to have scientific integrity in this administration when the administration doesn't even believe in science. And so we need to make sure that we are identifying people as we go forward, to hold them accountable and make sure we're not confirming anyone through a Senate appointment process that does not believe in science. I know that I'm proud of what we've done here in Illinois. We made sure that as we saw vaccine schedules change at the federal level, that we took action. And we made sure that our Illinois Department of Public Health issued its own recommendations for vaccines, especially for children as we think about it. So as a mom, I know I want my children to have the appropriate vaccines and be safe. and to not only protect my child, but also protect the children around them. And it's dangerous what's happening in Washington, and we need to make sure that we have people who believe in science, and I will make sure that that happens.
All right, thank you. And now we're getting to campaign finance here tonight. Transparency in campaign finance is, as you know, essential to public trust. What are the primary sources of funding for your campaign, and how would you ensure that financial support does not influence your legislative decisions? And we will begin right now with candidate Krishnamurthy.
Well, I'm proud that the vast majority of my campaign funding comes from individual donors, almost 90,000 over time. And this provides me with a level of independence that enables me to stand up for their interests as well as my constituents' interests. This is extremely important. That's why I'm able to, for instance, take on big tobacco, which has fueled the vaping epidemic, leading Time magazine to say that big tobacco had a target on my back. That's why I was able to go after the Kroger-Albertsons merger to prevent it, to block it, because it would lead to higher prices and worse worker conditions. That's why UFCW, the Food and Commercial Workers, have endorsed me. This independence has also allowed me to go after food conglomerates that poison our baby food with toxic heavy metals, which led to the first regulation ever of baby food. I think the reason why 14 unions have endorsed me is because of my independence.
Thank you. Candidate Stratton, 60 seconds.
Well, I'm the only candidate here tonight that has made a firm commitment not to accept any corporate PAC money in this campaign, and I've held true to that. And I'm proud of that fact because so many people that I talk to every single day say, you know, I feel like Washington is not paying attention to me, that it's sort of a go along to get along mentality, and it seems like corporations and CEOs, everyone seems to be getting wealthier, and the politicians that support that in Washington are getting rewarded. And I want to be the kind of leader, and I will be the kind of leader, that is focused on the people of Illinois. I want to take your voices with me to Washington, and I'm not going to be beholden to corporate special interests. I'm going to fight for you. I have not taken any corporate PAC money. We certainly know that an opponent of mine here on this stage tonight has taken money, not millions of dollars from corporations, but also MAGA donors and others that show that you can't really stand up to Donald Trump.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Kelly.
Well, I certainly believe in campaign finance reform. I think because we don't have it, good people don't run, good people don't win, and good people may not stay in because they don't want to be on that constant rat race. I take corporate money, but you know who I take money from. And as I've often said, check the record. I'm not beholden to anyone that gives me money. I'm beholden to the people that have put me in office. And I must be doing a pretty good job since they elected me 7 times. But I do believe in campaign finance reform. Just because you have the most money doesn't mean you've done the most or you're going to do the most. So I look forward to the day when we can have public financing of campaigns.
All right, well, thank you. And now we have some time for a few lightning round questions. We're going to kind of pick up the pace here. I will be the one posing the questions to all of you, and we're asking each of you to simply respond yes or no. And this order was also determined, again, by random drawing. And first question, would you vote to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies? Candidate Krishnamurthy, yes or no? Candidate Kelly?
Already did, yes.
Candidate Stratton?
Yes.
Next question, would you work to pass legislation to protect a woman's right to choose? Candidate Krishnamurthy?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Candidate Stratton?
Yes, I've done it.
Next question, do you think there should be a mandatory retirement age for members of Congress? Candidate Krishnamurthy?
Yes.
Candidate Kelly?
No.
Candidate Stratton?
No, we need fighters at any age.
Another question. Do you think there should be term limits for Supreme Court justices? Yes or no? Candidate Krishnamurthy?
Yes.
Candidate Kelly?
Yes.
Candidate Stratton?
Yes.
All right. And finally, do you support the DREAM Act that was recently reintroduced by retiring U.S. Senator Dick Durbin? Candidate Krishnamurthy?
100% yes.
Candidate Kelly?
100% yes.
And Candidate Stratton?
Yes.
Okay, we really moved through that one quickly. Thank you. So we are now going to invite each of the candidates to make a closing statement before we conclude here tonight. And each of you will have 1 minute, as you know. And Candidate Kelly, you may begin.
Okay. Well, thank you, to our host. Thank you to our moderators. I am Robin Kelly. I've been in Congress 13 years, and I know I am ready, willing, able to take on the tough fights. I'm doing it now, and I'm ready to continue it in the Senate. People are afraid, they're scared, they don't know what's happening with this country. Donald Trump is pitting neighbor against neighbor instead of paying attention to affordability issues and health care issues, to name a few. In the Senate, that will not happen on my watch. I promise I will work every day to give people the opportunity to live their best life. As I've said, we need fighters in the Senate, but we need winners in the Senate, not just people fighting. We need people that can win. People don't want us fighting all the time. They want to see accomplishments, they want to see changes, and they want to see winners. I'm a winner. Join my team. I'm humbly asking for your vote, robinforsenate.com.
Thank you. Thank you. And Candidate Stratton will be next.
Well, thank you all so much for this opportunity to share more about my platform. I think this is really an opportunity to elect someone to the United States Senate that's going to bring a new vision, boldness, and real courage to stand up and fight for the people of Illinois. I've heard you time and time again as I've traveled this state that you believe that Washington isn't working for you, and you're looking for new leadership, new voices, new vision, and new energy that will meet this moment. My campaign is all about you. It's about giving the people what they want. And what have I heard the people want? They want a livable wage, and I'll work to do that in Washington. They want access to health care, and I'll fight for Medicare for all. They want a tax break for the middle class, and they want to make sure that their leaders are not beholden to corporate special interests, but they will keep the people right at the forefront of everything they do. I will be that leader. Go to julianastratton.com to learn more.
Thank you. And Candidate Krishnamurthy, closing statement.
Thank you so much. I'm running for the Senate to preserve, protect, and defend the American dream from mortal assault by Donald J. Trump. You can just look at my personal story to understand why. That legal immigration system that enabled me to come to this country is being actively torn apart every day. The public housing and food stamps that enabled me and my family to survive are on the chopping block now. And those public schools that were the gateway to the American dream are under assault as Donald Trump seeks to close the Department of Education. So I believe the central question of this election is, what kind of a government do we want? Do we want a government that's there for those fighting to make it, or a government that primarily caters to those who have it made? I believe that we want a government that's cultivating the American dream for everyone, regardless of where you come from, the color of your skin, or the number of letters in your name. There are 29 in mine. And so that's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. I hope to have your vote. Thank you so much for your consideration.
And thank you to all of you. And that actually does it for the time that we have with all of you here tonight. I do want to take a sincere moment to thank each of the candidates for taking part in tonight's forum and really for keeping to our time limit so we can get through so many questions here tonight, and for watching our time volunteers here below the camera very carefully. So thank you. We really do appreciate that. And we also want to thank our ABC7 political reporter Craig Wall and Enrique Rodriguez of Univision for joining me tonight in asking these questions. And we also want to thank our partners at Univision and the League of Women Voters of Illinois and Chicago for their dedication and their hard work behind the scenes. They have done so much prior to tonight. And a reminder for all of you, the Illinois primary election is coming up on Tuesday, March 17th. We do have a voter guide ready for you on our news app and website, abc7chicago.com. Now, if you missed any portion of this forum here tonight, you can watch it tomorrow night on ABC7 at 10:35, right after our 10 p.m. news. You can also find it in full on our website and wherever you stream. And we will also be hearing from the other Democratic candidates in this race who were not part of this forum. We invited each of them to give a 2-minute statement, and you can watch all of those statements on Sunday morning on Our Chicago during our 8 a.m. newscast. And one final reminder for you here tonight, we will be back on Wednesday, February 11th for our Republican U.S. Senate primary forum, and you can watch that live at 7 o'clock that evening on our website or wherever you stream us. And thank you once again for joining us here tonight for this forum, for this discussion. Have a great night.